So the purpose of me making this video here today actually has to do with what happened here a couple weeks ago with Charlie Kirk being assassinated at the UVU campus down in Orem, Utah. The reason why I wanted to finally get on here and say something is, one, I had to think about it for a little while, but most importantly was because I believe, despite that I might have different opinions than Charlie Kirk in many ways and even in some of his tactics, the number one thing that he was motivated in doing, and I believed in this, was to the expression of free speech and to defend free speech and to bring students out into a campus to get them to actually freely discuss and think. Because a lot of colleges today aren't teaching people how to think anymore, they're just telling them what to think. And he's actually coming in and challenging them like a professor should to help them actually grow and think. Now, you can argue some of his tactics are mean, maybe baiting a little bit, rage baiting, whatever you want to label it as. But the whole premise of everything and the purpose of part of the foundation of the movement was to protect and debate, free debate and speech, and get people to actually think. And that is something extremely important, because if you've traveled outside the US into certain undeveloped nations, or what we actually used to be even a couple hundred years ago throughout the country or throughout the world, you couldn't really share what you would think. And that's what made the United States very unique, is it created a foundation, and that's why free speech is one of the most important things on there. If you don't have free speech, you don't really have free thought. You don't have thought, you don't have people who actually can act and think for themselves, instead be acted upon and controlled. And this movement here was to try and avoid that from happening to the younger generation, who are going to be our leaders in the coming decades, or even decade, to help either move this country forward or completely destroy it, depending on what is controlling their thoughts in their head. And most of the time today, people are controlled by their ideas, or ideas that have been implanted inside them at college, versus challenging ideas based on the grounds of something that has valid facts versus just a theory. So I wanted to make this to say I stand with what Charlie Kirk was doing. What this assassin did was un-American. Even though we've had that throughout history in the United States, where political leaders have had assassination attempts performed upon them or actually succeeded. Now, Charlie Kirk was not a political figure. He was not some political leader. He had no office of any position of power. He was simply a guy who ran a foundation that helped educate the youth more in the conservative values, challenged people who challenged him, and then was killed for it, just because, well, someone thought he was filled with hate. Now, I can't recall anything that Charlie Kirk actually said that was hate-filled. You can say it was straight blunt, bold, and could come across mean, and for someone that believes opposite of what he believes, it might find it a bit harsh, but hate-filled, far from it, far from it. What happened here is wrong. This is not something that should happen in the United States ever, especially to someone who is not a political leader. Shouldn't happen to any political leaders, period. We aren't some third world country controlled by some dictator, or was ever built to be controlled by some dictator. It was built for people that are meant to be those that can think and act for themselves based upon true and correct and everlasting principles. And what's happened over time is we've strayed away from that. We strayed away from the idea of a higher power. I believe in God, and I believe that's what the Christian values are meant here in the United States. And that's what helped build these certain values of free speech, the right to bear arms, and everything else that comes with the due process of law. So I just wanted to make this video because I believe it's important for everyone in this country, whether you agree with Kirk or not. I would say the same thing if it was a political leader on the left, or someone had ideas more on the left side that got shot by someone who didn't like him because they were on the opposing view. That itself is reprehensible. It's evil. It's un-American. However, it just shows us one thing, that human nature exists. And until we become aware that we have that, each and every one of us and understand how to control it, this is what the end result can lead to on the extreme end. So hopefully this made sense, and hopefully this resonates with someone out there and more people out there to actually say something about this and stand up and try to put an end to this madness that's dividing us on both sides.